On this edition of A Woman's Place, I talk to 7 special women who will give you some advice, let it go, move on, and eat, love, and live. My guests are Millicent St. Clair and Dr. Janet Page. I'm Angela Harrington Rice, and this is A Woman's Place. Dr. Janet Page, welcome back to A Woman's Place.
Thank you for inviting me, Angela.
We had an exciting time the last time you were on,
Yes,
talking
we
about
did.
A Year to Get Married. And I know that book is selling off the shelves because so many people are interested, particularly the women I know are interested in getting married. And you had some great tools in that book that looked at every area of a person's life, looked at spirituality, and gave them some wonderful processes in which to begin to attract their divine mate.
Thank you. That's a wonderful description and exactly what I was trying for.
So in following your work, I hear there are other workshops that you do, and one that I was particularly interested in is Eat, Love, and Live. And the interesting thing is dealing with this relationship that we have with food. Tell me about what inspired you to create this workshop and what people will get out of it.
Well, okay, I started with, and actually I had written an article along with the book called Training to Get Married, how you need to take care of all aspects of your life. And that plus over the years, I've considered a relationship expert of some sorts. And I thought a relationship with food is so primary to everything we do, and saw over and over again in my practice with my students, people who maybe their self-esteem raised and other things would go well, but they would still be beating themselves up about food. And food, I realize, is just another relationship. And it's one that people treat similarly, that if you're a compulsive person, you're going to be compulsive in the bedroom, in the boardroom, and the dining room. You know, that's you. And how you treat yourself with food has a lot to do with feeling happy and back toward the presenting yourself, whether it's being easy to live with or having a great time on dates and being a good date and walking in some place with confidence. You can't be walking in thinking, ooh, I don't think I look that good. And people just torture themselves with diets that never work and never will. I was shocked down at the, on Peachtree, the Barnes and Noble, the windows, 1/3, more than 1/3 of the books are new diet books. Why are there best-selling new diet books? Because the old ones didn't work. And then these will go. And it just, I felt people have to know it's a relationship. It's their attitude that makes a difference, not whether or not you eat 5 grapefruits.
That's interesting because I don't think we really think about, we are having that relationship with food. You know, it's like, you know, food sometimes serves as the best friend. When nobody's around, you know, we can commune. You know, food comforts us. You know, food becomes a way that we entertain and engage ourselves. Food is just so much a part of our lives, and that relationship with food is critical.
Yeah, and my goal is that it become a good relationship. The food is satisfying and it makes you cheerful and happy. Every meal should be a happy meal, but it's got to be one you're conscious about, that you'll spend time choosing, you'll stop and think before you eat, and you'll be aware of when you need to stop. One of the participants in my last Eat, Love, Live workshop was saying she was a member growing up with the Clean Plate Club. Those are my only food rules. Waste food. It's extremely important. You don't need, we're all responsible for world hunger, but eating an extra slice of meat that you don't really want is truly not going to make the difference. It's just going to overload your body. And I think being willing to waste is an investment in your own health.
So, where do we start in terms of redeveloping or recasting this relationship with food?
I think it's, first of all, recognizing it's something that permeates your life so much that you can't leave it alone. You know, don't fool yourself that you can go on having great feeling about life and love and everything else and have this nasty arrangement fighting your food as though it were an enemy, that it's got to be across the board. And I think you start with the system that it's conscious. You make sure that you always think about what you really want to eat before you eat it, and try and get rid and know your friends and know your enemies. Because some people will just push food without really realizing, you know, they just have cooked something, they want you to eat it. And I think, fortunately, now in restaurants, nobody thinks you really are taking it home for the dog anymore. Always take food, even with a hostess. You know, if she's insistent, well, then you leave someone's house, or family, or your mother. You leave someone's house with food, say, I'll eat it later. And then do so if you want to.
Well, one of the things I find always is that, it's always let's get together for lunch or let's get together, and it always involves food. And then I don't know if you find this true, that sometimes relationships with a man or a woman kind of revolves around food, that the activity becomes let's go out to dinner or let's go to lunch or, I mean, even the romantic picnic, everything is centered around food. Is there any way we can connect other than through eating?
Yes, definitely. But I think that whole connection with food that's where you get into being joyful and enjoying the time, so you're not there nervous about what you're eating. And I think, there's such a focus on women. Attractive comes in all sizes. This isn't a focus on weight per se, that so many women get so focused on being thin. And 60% of my practice are men, so I learn a lot about what they like. Most of them want an eater. They don't want to go.
True, isn't it?
Yeah, they don't want to go order a steak and she has a lettuce leaf. They want a little gusto in there, and I think they know from what they're talking about. I mean, somebody who's passionate in love and life is going to be a little lusty about their food too. You just got to, eat it in the quantities. And you would mention comfort food. I think there's the concept we have to get away from. All your food should be comforting. You should only eat what you really want and satisfies you. But don't fool yourself. It's food. It's not a lover. It's not a life changer. If you need something and there's where you distinguish in the thinking, am I really hungry? Because if you're not hungry, well, then you may be bored or angry or sad, and a donut's not going to mop up your tears. Could be you need a nap, you need to cry, you need to move around, you may need something. And I think people have to start, one of my exercises is having a list of pleasures on hand, so that when you're thinking of food but you're not hungry, bubble bath, great music, going for a walk, lots of ideas of other things to do. And if you can distract yourself, then you weren't hungry. And another of the exercises are doing something right before you eat. If only I could get everyone in the world to drink their water. If everyone just had 8 ounces of water a day, it's a miracle cure. And it's good for your system, but it's also, it's hard to distinguish between dehydration and hunger. So that I say drink some water before you eat. If you think you're hungry, drink water. You're hungry, go ahead and eat. But make sure you're hydrated fully. And other exercises are just to breathe deeply, or to stand up, or to step outside.
And I know the distraction method works. I mean, I know that. And I really haven't applied it to food, but I applied it to cigarettes. And through the distraction method, I gave up cigarettes, and I've not smoked for over 10 years.
Great.
And I basically just always said, I won't smoke now, but I'll smoke later. And then when later would come, I'd say, I won't smoke now, but if at 9 o'clock I feel like smoking, but I would keep distracting myself or coming up with ideas of why it wasn't good to smoke right then, or why I would smoke later. And then all of a sudden, I didn't even think about it.
You're right, that works so well with food.
But I think the other part of that, though, just thinking about it, but people hate smokers, and they start relegating smokers. But food is everywhere, There's food at the company gathering, at the church gathering. There's food everywhere. So it's more difficult, I guess, to distract.
It's more difficult to distract, but it's like at a church gathering, let's say, there's usually people out there. Go join the children. The adults sit and eat. Go play with the kids instead, or walk around by yourself, or ask anyone if they'd like to go for a stroll, or get engaged in a conversation. And I think it's so important to not go along with particular rules, like you can't eat in between meals. If you're going to a big gathering where there's lots of lures in terms of food that won't be that great for you to eat a ton of, then you're better to eat something before you go, if you're hungry then. But not ever save up your hunger.
So if you had one rule that you wanted us to start with for people who are wanting a better relationship with food, so that they feel better about themselves, so they begin to attract the things or the persons that they want in their lives because they feel good about every aspect of their lives, where do you want us to start?
To make a commitment to yourself that you deserve the very best. You deserve to enjoy your food, and you deserve to believe in your own attractiveness, and that you are going to have confidence you're going to win, and that means never, ever diet again. And oh, by the way, do chew the stuff. Lots of people, it goes down the gullet, they hardly knew it existed. To savor, to learn to be a gourmet eater. Satisfaction is there for the taking.
Well, I'd like to thank you for being here and sharing with us
you.
some wonderful tips. And you have a lot of things going on. How can we keep in touch with Dr. Page?
Oh, the website, www.drjanet, J-A-N-E-T, Page, P-A-G-E.com is the best.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Page, for being
thank you
here.
for
It's
having
always a
me,
pleasure,
Angela.
and I hope
It
you'll
is.
join us again.
I happily, anytime.
When we return on A Woman's Place, I talked to Millicent St. Clair, who encourages us to let it go and move on.